It's easy to forget just how vast the internet is. However, it's important to keep in mind that troubling content is all over the place. These few websites were found by web surfers by sheer chance, but now can be shared and exposed, either to attract the morbidly curious users online or to warn safe players to steer away from such content. Even if you don't check these sites out yourself, a simple explanation of their material is enough to make you uneasy. Number 5. At first glance, this website may seem harmless and hardly disturbing at all, but it's the undertones of mysterious that make it so interesting and upsetting to some. Zombo.com, more commonly referred to as Zombocom, was created in 1999, but didn't attract much attention until the mid-2000s, when it was discovered and shared across various platforms. The concept of the page is very simple. In fact, not much seems to even happen on the site. When first visiting the homepage, you're met with Zombocom written in colorful lettering across the top of the page. Below the title, a group of colored circles flash and spin, much like a loading symbol. This doesn't end or change, and the flash animation carries on as long as you're on the site. Obviously, it's unclear what the site's goal is, and you'll probably quickly get bored while visiting the page. As the circle continues, music and voices play over the imagery. Music can best be described as catchy elevator music, which almost sets a positive and friendly tone. The voice which narrates the page sounds like an older male with an accent. The voice starts by saying, "Welcome to Zombocom," which isn't very unsettling at first. However, the voice continues to speak for the entirety of the time that you're on the page. He repeats, "Welcome to Zombocom," and "This is Zombocom, welcome." Most of his phrases repeat several times, but it does sound as though they become more excited the longer this goes on, at some point exclaiming in a chipper tone. Needless to say, after a solid minute on the page, the audio and visuals become overwhelming and generally uncomfortable. Some users have reported that while on the page, they developed severe headaches, felt dizzy, and experienced nausea. A few theories suggested that the audio is designed to physically harm website visitors for reasons unknown. Of course, others have claimed that they've experienced no negative feelings while on the page, other than confusion. Regardless, you should consider these reports before visiting the website. Number 4. Every person in the world has a unique view of their own experience, the purpose of life, and religious beliefs. Even if you feel as though you can fall into limbo, completely unsure about the aforementioned topics, that's technically your own unique stance on the matter. Among these many theories and ideologies, a common view and source of debate is the concept that we're all just living in a massive simulation, controlled by an unknown, ominous outside source. Concepts like this can be seen in media such as movies like The Matrix and other popular episodes of TV shows. This may be a playful concept for some, just unsettling enough to be entertaining, but not confirmed enough to be considered as truth. Nick Bostrom, however, has taken a much more serious platform over this topic. Nick is a professor at Oxford University, where he works with the Future of Humanity Institute, or FHI, and the Governance of AI program. Nick has spent most of his time researching theories about human living and human self-awareness. He's written many educational books on the topic and even helped in creating the unsettling website that's covered in this entry. The website is located at simulation-argument.com. It's a simple blog-like website with a white background, a few pages, and a collection of theories and research covering similar topics. In fact, the entire website is mostly a vast collection of Nick's work, as well as the work of dozens of others interested in this subject. Many articles and entries directly target the audience with titles such as "Are you living in a computer simulation?" or "Why the probability that you're living in the Matrix is quite high," and "Are you a sim?" These posts influence the reader to question their existence while providing a convincing argument that their theories are true. While this might not sound scary, it's certainly disturbing on some level. If you ever found yourself in the middle of an existential crisis, you know the uncomfortable feelings of fear, uncertainty, doubt, and worry. It's easy for those that are interested in the topic to get lost on the website, reading thousands of words, persuading them that they aren't real, and don't matter in the grand scheme of things. Readers have stated that while exploring the website, they were filled with anxiety and ultimately had to exit the site. The reach of this website, created in 2005, far surpasses the audience of visitors to the original page. Content such as written entries, articles, and screenshots have been taken from the site over the years and shared on other platforms such as Facebook, Reddit, and more. Because of this, users are unable to access information without visiting the page and inevitably being consumed with overloading details. Additionally, this has encouraged an open dialogue on other pages where readers can voice their opinions and concerns with others. Before retrieving any additional content on this topic, you should question yourself about your existence so that you aren't so easily convinced. Number 3. This entry may be disturbing to some, as it covers a deeply unsettling website in which real people passed away. Plane Crash Info is the self-explanatory title of a website created in 1997. Most users have either stumbled across the page by accident or found it from online posts discussing its eerie nature. The website itself is very simple. Considering it's a much older domain, the design and interface are very plain and easy to understand. You won't find anything overly creepy when first logging in, such as music or shocking photos. Once you begin to really focus on the pages and options and explore content more thoroughly, you'll find yourself deeply upset or a bit uneasy. That's because most of the content on the page surrounds plane crash data. The data comes from the countless cases of plane crashes and related incidents. The homepage features most recent and is surprisingly up to date. As of the time this is being written, the most recent feature on the homepage occurred October 2nd, 2019. The post includes details about the crash such as locations, operators, pilots, and route overviews. Additional information is provided summarizing the events leading to the crash. Photos, if available, are also connected to each post. Other facts that may be more unsettling cover possible fatalities and severely injured victims. While this may already be too much for some users to take in, it's just the tip of the iceberg. 100 worst famous deaths, accident categories, unusual accidents, and accident history are just a few of the other available pages within the website. These tabs lead to much darker cases that may upset the reader. Still, there's more content to be discussed, which causes the pages to be a bit discouraging. When selecting the page Last Words, you're redirected to a collection of transcripts and even audio recordings in some cases that were collected inside the plane before impact. Regardless of whether you're reading or listening, these files can be heartbreaking. Playing the screams, prayers, and panic of passengers and on-flight employees, the files can easily push your mood into morbid sadness. Most of the material on the plane crash info is just factual statistics. It's when you tap into the human side of the information that you begin to feel upset or scared. We warn you not to visit the website without first preparing yourself for what you're about to view. Number 2. Across the web, you can find infinite information about conspiracies of all kinds. It's not uncommon that people use details and facts to calculate theories that suggest certain parts of our lives, modern society, and government are involved in dangerous conspiracies that aim to harm the general public. Otis Eugene Ray, also known simply as Gene, developed a theory in which he believed modern sciences, healthcare professionals, and government systems were part of a conspiracy to teach lies and gain control of citizens. Gene, who allegedly insisted that he's the wisest man alive, and described himself as being godlike, with immeasurable knowledge, created a website in 1997 named TimeCube. On this site, Gene has shared his research and findings that suggested that, among other things, day 1 on Earth was actually 4 days at once. According to this theory, the 4 days were separated into sun up, midday, sundown, and midnight. On the confusing site, he posted graphs, equations, research data, and personal writing samples to explain his concept to the public. Unfortunately, the site is a mess and hasn't been updated in several years, making it difficult to understand. A few mathematicians and data analysts reviewed the work available on TimeCube. They found that some equations checked out, but only because the data used was created by Gene himself. Other materials on the site were referred to as confusing, incomplete, and generally lacking a stable collection of information. There's a quote on the website that allegedly summarizes his concept, and it states, "When the sun shines upon Earth, 2 major time points are created on opposite sides of the Earth, known as midday and midnight. Where the 2 major time forces join, synergy creates 2 minor time points we recognize as sun up and sun down. The 4 equidistant time points can be considered a time square imprinted upon the circle of the Earth. In a single rotation of the Earth's sphere, each time corner point rotates through the other 3 corner time points, thus creating 16 corners, 96 hours, and 4 simultaneous 24-hour days within a single rotation of the Earth. Obviously, this information is confusing, and you might think it's just the ramblings of a disturbed man, which is likely true. However, Gene actually collected a fanbase of people who believed his concept was true and wanted to take part in the work behind it. One man named Richard was a devoted fan of Gene. He admired his work, believed in his theory, and wanted to devote his time to uncovering the truth of the real world. Richard called himself a cubehead, and the second wisest man alive. Richard was completely committed to his work on the time cube idea. He created an online awareness forum to share information and receive audience feedback and interaction. In 2007, Richard traveled from Australia to Florida to meet Gene and work with him in person. Upon his arrival, the partnership was a positive experience. Eventually, though, the pair began to disagree and would argue often. As a result, they split the partnership and Richard went back to his previous life. Gene denounced Richard on his website, cruelly explaining that he was no longer a part of the team. In February of 2008, Richard took his own life. While there's no way to confirm the reasons behind his decisions, some speculate that Richard had learned too much about the truth behind the time cube and struggled to deal with reality. Believers consider this website valuable yet horrifying. It's natural to be upset after learning life may not be what you always thought it was. As for those that consider the content meaningless, you still might experience some level of discomfort knowing that so many people are dedicated to the seemingly insane cause. Number 1. Skyway Bridge is a cable-stayed bridge spanning the lower Tampa Bay, located in St. Petersburg, Florida. As is common with such locations, the bridge has seen its fair share of tragedies. In cities with large bridges, the likelihood of someone jumping to their fate is much higher. Skywaybridge.com was created in 1998 with one goal in mind: to track and organize data related to people that jumped from the bridge. The site, being rather outdated, is a simple interface with various page options that get right to the point with a short introduction that says the bridge is the attraction of choice for those contemplating ending their life. It also states that Skyway has experienced so many tragedies that it takes 4th place in the list of other popular points, with number 1 being its place in California. The data is organized by year, but also offers an option to search by name. Bridge cams are available on the site, which use live and recorded footage of the bridge collected by traffic cams. Some of these videos include footage of jumpers actually committing the act. Much of the footage, organized by date and location, has been removed or restricted on the site for sharing inappropriate or arguably immoral content. Even without these videos, you're likely to find yourself saddened by the log of information, which provides brief information about the victims. Thankfully, the site also offers resources for those that are considering taking their own life. There's also a prevention page that's called Call to Action for efforts in preventing the morbid epidemic. Data collected in 2009 exposed that over 207 people have jumped from the bridge over the years. This number, unfortunately, has probably increased in the last 10 years though. The Skyway Bridge website is still just as active as it was when it was first created. But don't visit this site if you're sensitive to information regarding tragedy, suffering from thoughts of suicide, or overall uncomfort with the images you might see. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos. And if you enjoyed this narration, maybe consider checking out my personal channel at youtube.com/ty_knots.